Thank you very much, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak in this distinguished panel, and I'm very happy to be back here in Delhi at the DSDS. I think that there are 2 points I would like to make on how we can resolve the challenges with water, energy, and food security. And then there are 3 actions that the Swedish government has been taking that I would like to market a bit to you this afternoon. First, I would like to stress that, and that's something that is obvious, but I think it's still important to stress that in order to resolve these challenges, we need to focus on education, we need to focus on international cooperation, and we need to make sure that there is enough political will to really meet the challenges. And speaking about food security, I believe that a lot can be done in the field of food security through capacity building, experience sharing, and education. And just looking at the agriculture, forestry, and fishery sectors, these sectors are without question crucial parts of the solution in a transformation to a green economy and sustainable development. By increasing sustainable productivity in agriculture production, food supply can be secured, be it through small-scale, organic, market-based, or large-scale production. Irrespective of scale and model, the key word is sustainable and resource efficiency. And we can and shall do more with less. One important point here is by giving women equal access to production resources, it's estimated that it would feed up to 150 million more people. Increased gender equality is not just a question of rights, but also an important factor contributing to economic growth. Secondly, besides these kind of adjustments in the food sector, we can, as regulators, do more to be resource efficient. We can, for example, develop effective market-based instruments that can correct market failures and affect pricing. We can also use taxes on pollution and to reform environmentally harmful subsidies in a socially responsible manner. We can stimulate resource-efficient and toxic-free material cycles in order to use the waste as a resource. And we can also support efforts to further action on innovation and technology development. These measures have been effective. They have, for instance, in my country, led to big changes in the energy field. Because in Sweden, we have seen a transition from a heavily fossil fuel dependent country to a low carbon economy, from the oil dependence of the 70s to ambitions of being an energy net exporting country in the last decade. And while the Swedish economy has more than doubled in size since the 70s, total energy supply is equivalent to the levels of that time. Important for the transition has been the increased use of hydropower and nuclear, but mostly the expansion of the bioenergy sector during the last decades. From 1983 until today, the supply of biofuels and waste for energy has increased 160% in my country. And now we are experiencing an emergence of other renewable energy sources, such as wind. I just want to say also that our share of renewables was 48% in 2011. And we are confident that we will meet our national objective of reaching 50% to 2020. And this is the highest share in the European Union. In 2004, the share was 38%, and the share of the transport sector is 9.8%. The objective that we have set for ourselves for 2020 is 50% renewable energy in total energy use, 10% renewable in transport, 20% more efficient energy use, and 40% reduction in greenhouse gases. The government has also put up a strategy for environmental technology, which was adopted last year and aims to facilitate the growth of Swedish environmental technology companies. And the strategy consists of measures from supporting research and development to exports. Nationally also, the government, or I should say the parliament, has adopted 16 environmental quality objectives. And many times sustainable development is really about communication. So you need to develop easy ways of communicating to the general public what you want to achieve, and to really bring them on board and make sure that they all work together with you to achieve these objectives. So there are many, many government agencies and of course all the ministries that are engaged in reaching these objectives. And then we have, of course, a website, and we have this little booklet that we communicate on these objectives so that they could be easily understood. And just to mention a few of them, one is, for example, reduced climate impact, and I already said the 40% reduction of carbon emissions until 2020. Another one is that we are striving for a non-toxic environment. A third is a protective ozone layer. A fourth is flourishing lakes and streams, and so on. These are objectives that can be easily understand and easily communicated to the general public. And I think that that is crucial, because in a country like Sweden, the citizens are really asking what they can do in order to be more sustainable and to be more environmentally friendly. And to have these ways of communicating easily how they can be changing their own situation and be of assistance to reach these objectives is a very good way forward, in our opinion. Another thing that we did last year was to organize a partnership forum for sustainable development. And this is to commemorate the 40 years since the 1972 conference on human development and the environment that was held in Stockholm. And you all know that this was the first time that we had a UN conference on this relationship between development and environment that had not really been recognized before. And what we did last year was to organize a partnership conference, because we are sure that we cannot really achieve sustainable development just by government decisions only. So we have to make sure that we work together with the civil society, with the business sector. And what we did was to bring all of them together in Stockholm during a 3-day conference. And we had many, many roundtables. And I brought with me some of these brochures. I'm going to leave them here for those of you who are interested. And there are many interesting articles in here. And we also had a very strong and interesting group of young people who took part. And they really gave us a lot of good ideas on how we should work to achieve a sustainable world. And the third issue I wanted to talk about, because this is very dear to my heart. Last minute, it's going to be very brief. It's a climate and clean air coalition that we launched 1 year ago. And originally we were 6 founding members, 6 countries, Sweden being one of them, Mexico another. We did this together with UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Programme. And we launched this coalition to deal with the short-lived climate pollutants, not to take any focus away from the UNFCCC negotiations. And I really want to stress this, because what we wanted to do was to do something now. We wanted to achieve concrete action on the ground that could reduce the emissions of the short-lived climate pollutants that are calculated by the scientists to take almost 0.5 degrees of the 2-degree target if we are going to reduce these pollutants. So the pollutants are tropospheric ozone, it's black carbon, and it's methane gas and HFCs. And we have, since we launched the coalition a year ago, grown from 6 original members, including now Japan and France that came on very fast. We are now 50 partners in this coalition. And we are happy to bring in more NGOs, to bring in more countries, to bring in more business partners, because this coalition is about acting now to reduce these pollutants that harm the climate, but also harm people's health. They actually calculate, the scientists, that 2 million women and children die every year unnecessarily because of black carbon particles. So if we, by this initiative, can only reduce at least some of these unnecessarily deaths, I think that this coalition is worth a try. So thank you very much for listening.